Hello everyone, Linda Israel here, and I'm going to share a tutorial on making a junk journal cover, and I'm going to show you kind of my process. So what I've got here in front of me, which I thought would be fun, is these are wallpaper samples. So a friend of mine moved and she was cleaning out and she gave me 3 really pretty wallpaper sample books. So I have cut up pieces. I've even got a big sheet here, and I'm going to do sort of the concept of like a Franken page, in that you put pieces down and then you sew around them. So I've kind of already started getting a design, and my idea is on the front cover of my journal, when I put my image on top, it'll cover this hole that I have here. So I just want enough to go around the edges and of course the back. So what I'm going to do is I've just got some tacky glue, and I'm going to tack these into place because I do plan to go to the sewing machine. So I'm just going to pick these up one by one and put just a little bit of glue somewhat in the center, because I plan to sew around the edges and I don't want the glue gumming up my sewing machine. And I'm going to leave a little bit of a border around the pieces when I put them down, so it'll kind of remind you of a mosaic. So I'm just glue these down, and once I've got that done, I will stop, sew, and then be back. As you can see, I have gone around each one that I know will be visible with a zigzag stitch on my brother's sewing machine. I just use the default stitch setting. In my case, it is a 3.5 and then 1.4 on my digital readout. So yours may be different, and of course you don't have to stitch them down. You just want to make sure that they're well adhered with your glue. So you're probably wondering, okay, yeah, thanks Linda, but how do I know what size to make my journal cover? Here's what I do. I have all the pages that I want to go inside this junk journal, and what I'll do is I'll kind of look at it and see, all right, how big is this piece here, width-wise and height? And then I figure out, okay, how deep should the spine be as well? And so let me give you those measurements for this particular one, and it's only because that's the size of the Calico Collage digital download. That's what I based the size of my journal. So whatever your journal you're building, you want to base it upon the largest piece that you're going to use in your journal, and that's how you're going to know what size your cover is, by adding a little bit to that. So in my case, this journal, when closed, the pages folded in half are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 1/4 inches deep. And then they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 inches tall. I wanted mine to be 5.5 inches wide by 8.5 inches tall. And the reason being I wanted to do that is I wanted the lace bits to stick out. And it was okay that my pages were almost even when you line these up. So I added just a fraction, so 0.25 this way, and I added 1/2 inch to be able to get the height of my journal. So when you're making yours, you may want to go further. For example, if I wanted to go all the way out here, then I would make it a 6.5 inch piece this way to cover the lace, so it would come all the way out. I just basically add anywhere between 1/4 and 1/2 inch to the size of the pages to make my cover, okay? So then we decided that the thickness was going to be 2 inches. So I made a piece that was 8.5 inches tall by 2 inches wide. I made a third piece that is the same size as the first cover that I cut. So now I figured out these pieces. What I did was I took a piece of paper and I laid it out on my desk. I laid out the 3 pieces that I had somewhat relatively close together and lined up pretty well. So I put that on my table, and then I took that piece of paper and cut it 1/2 inch all the way around. So if you were to measure these 3 pieces, let me lay this out, I'll measure it. Alright, so it is 13 inches across, and of course we already know that's 8.5 inches tall. I would make that then a couple of inches bigger, and we'll show you that this is almost 1.5 inches wider than the pieces underneath. And then when I line this up this way, it's about, oh, let me scoot up so you can see. It's about 1.5 inches wider this way. That just gives you enough to wrap around the chipboard. Now the chipboard I'm using is just lightweight chipboard that was from a printer's box. Well, the company I used to work for, they had paper that was pin fed into printers, and I asked them to save the cardboard. Alright, so what I'll do next is, now that I know what the measurements are, I would prepare my cover, whether it be out of fabric, paper. In my case, it's a mixture of book pages and wallpaper. I would adhere these together really well. So I like to use tacky glue for this type of thing because it's inexpensive and it works. And what I'll do is I'll start at the top, I'll go all the way down the spine. I don't know, I like to start in the center so that I know that I'm centering my book well. And then I make a zigzag line here. And then I'll put this in place. And I'll use a bone folder to help smooth out the glue. And then I will glue the other 2 side pieces in the same fashion. I leave a little bit of a gap here, probably enough that my fingernail can definitely go in it. The idea is that when this bends, it does not buckle, so you want to leave a little bit of space there. Some people leave more. I'm going to leave, I don't even think it's 1/8 of an inch, maybe 1/16 of an inch of a gap. And again, I'm going to spread the glue out with the bone folder. I'll take my bone folder and I'll go down in the creases. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start on each corner, and I'm going to fold that corner in at a diagonal, and I'll press it with my bone folder, and then I'll take some of the tacky glue and glue that down. Sometimes you may have to hold it because it is wallpaper and it takes just a little bit for it to adhere. Once I've done all the corners, then I'll go down the sides and glue those over as well. Alright, once I have the sides folded in and adhered down, I'll set this aside to dry. And then I'm going to work on the inside cover pieces. So what I've done is I cut 2 pieces that were 5 1/4 by 8 1/4 in size. This is going to be my inside. And then I cut a piece of wallpaper that I think is 6 inches, and then I folded it over at 3 1/2 inches, and then I took that top portion and zigzag stitch over it. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this over, and I'm going to eyeball this and kind of get it centered. I'm going to take this corner and fold it over and basically attach this little piece, and it will become a pocket on the inside of my journal. So I'll add some glue to this and adhere this into place. I'll take the bottom and fold that up. Use my bone folder to get it to lay flat, and I'll adhere this into place. So I've repeated this and made 2. So these are going to be my inside pockets. And then I need something to cover the spine, so I cut a 4-inch wide piece of cardstock that is the same height, 8 1/4 inches, and these are now ready for me to take to my sewing machine. And since I'm going to my sewing machine, I might as well get what's going to be the cover embellishment, if you will. So what I'm going to do now is I've got some distressed ink. I'm going to go around the edges of both of these. I'll adhere it down and then take it to my sewing machine and do a zigzag stitch. I've sewn around all the pieces. I know that I want to add some glitter to the Calico Collage digital image. It's from the kit One Fine Day. So I'm going to use the Tulip dimensional glitter, and I have the Scrap Perfect No Clog writing tip. And I like this with the glitter because I can place the glitter right where I want it. So I'm just going to go around some of these flowers and add a little bit of glitter. I'll add some to the wings of this bee, and then I'll pick other things as well. Zoom in just a little bit so you can see. So like here is a butterfly up here, and I'm just going to kind of outline it. And it's just going to be a clear little sparkle that you'll be able to see on the cover. Well, I think that's enough of the tulip glitter. So next thing I'll do is I'll just put the cap back on. I had it and then it fell out. Back on so to keep it from clogging. And then I just store this over here to the side so I have it. I'm going to set this portion aside to dry for a few minutes while I continue to work on the cover. So I know that this is going to be my front, and I'm going to flip this over. This is going to be my front. I better have it the right way. I have the inside where I told the measurements upside down. So I'm going to crease this again where the fold should be in the spine of this book. And I've got the cardstock that's going to be the cover. And I'm going to get this in the center. I'm going to use a bit of the glue again. So I'm going to put a good amount right across the top and the bottom. And I'm going to go down the sides and a little zigzag. And then I like to put just a little bit inside the cover as well so it gets really well adhered. Listen to my grammar. Alright, so I'm going to center this right here. Press this into place. I'm going to use my bone folder to help spread out that glue. And then what I'm going to do is where this is supposed to fold, I'll put my bone folder in here and make sure that this is in that crease really well. Alright, once I've got that piece in, I'm going to work on the inside pieces, the pockets. So I'm making sure this is my front. I've got it right side up. I'm going to take this piece that's going to become the pocket on the inside front, and I'm going to adhere it down. I'm going to do the other side, same fashion. I'm going to let this dry for a few minutes, and then I'll show you how to add the pages into the journal using a pamphlet stitch. Alright, so the next thing you need to really do is you need to make sure that I call it train the cover. So you want to bend it every so often and crease it with your bone folder as best as possible in that crevice. And then you won't have problems with your cover getting that buckled look. So just press that in there really well. So here's how the cover is starting to look already. I'm going to go ahead and put my pages in before I decorate the cover because the glitter paint wasn't quite dry yet. So what I've done is I've cut a piece of paper here that is the same width as my spine. So that's 2 inches. So let me find my pen. So this was 2 inches. And then the height of it was the 8.5, so it's this way, and then this way is 8.5. So then what I did was I folded it in half to find the center part, and I'm going to make a dot. Actually, I'm going to turn this over because I've already marked it with pencil. So I'm going to make a dot in the center. And then about 1/2 inch from that, I'm going to make a mark and a mark on the other side. So there's the 3 center holes. And then about 1.5 inches from the top, where these intersect, that is where more holes are going to be made. And I flipped it over and did the same thing. And then I decide this is going to be the top. And this is important because you want to do all of your signatures in the same hole pattern, and if you get it reversed, your signatures will be at different heights. So now I'm going to just take my awl. In this case, it's a Tim Holtz Tonic Studio craft pick, and I'm going to poke holes. I got some really thick fun foam. It's probably the 3mm, and I'm going to poke holes in my template that I'm going to use for punching in the cover and on the pages. So now that I've got that punched, I'm going to lay it in my cover. I'm going to make sure that I have this exactly in the center, and I've got the top at the top. And then I'm going to punch these 9 holes in the cover. Sometimes what I like to do is go back in and really push through to make sure that those are easy to get a needle through. Because there's nothing like trying to struggle putting a needle through a hole. And at the same time, we don't want a giant hole. So what I like to do is I like to do my center signature. So I'm going to set that aside for a moment. This is going to be my center signature, and I will match up all the pages top to bottom, make sure they're all nice and neat, and I'll take a giant paper clip. You can use a binder clip. It's whatever works best for you. And I'm going to paper clip these together. Then I'm going to take my template and fold it up into the V, because now I'm only going to poke 3 holes dead center of my signature. So I'm going to push that down inside. I'm making sure that I've got it even on both ends, and then I'm going to hold this in a V. Now if you have a bookbinder's cradle, which I have one, but I don't want to confuse you and think you have to have one, it keeps those pages folded up. But if you hold them manually, you can pretty much poke your holes down the center, and that will get all those pages to nest together. And I like to go back through those holes and make sure that those are going to be easy to see. And I'm going to punch the holes in all 3 signatures so that they're ready. I have waxed linen thread, and I'm going to cut a length of it that is 3 times the height of my book for each signature. Then I have a bookbinder's needle. This is a heavy needle with a nice size gauge and an elongated hole. And I'm going to thread my waxed linen thread. I like waxed linen thread because it's strong and it seems to last for a really long time. I've had journals that I made almost 20 years ago that are just fine, and I use waxed linen thread. So I'm going to start in the center. We're doing what's called a pamphlet stitch. It's 3 holes, and you stitch back and forth, kind of like a figure 8 look to it. So I'm going to start in the center of my cover, and pull to the outside, and then making sure not to pull my thread all the way through. I'll hang on to it. I will punch back through the top hole. Sometimes it's harder to see. Alright, so this is the top hole. I'm going to pull the thread towards me in the top hole, and I'm going to go back through the center hole to the outside of the journal again. Now I'm going to go down to the bottom hole in the center. Alright, so I'm going to take my thread and slip under that first stitch that I made in the book on the inside. I'm going to make sure that this is tight on the inside as well as the outside. And then I'm going to tie this in a square knot. So that's just tying it once, tying it twice. You can leave the tails and attach items to those. I've done that in other videos, or you can cut them off flush. So I'm going to remove those paper clips, and I'm going to stitch the next signature in place in the same fashion, starting in the center hole and going to the outside, back up to the top, to the inside, down through the bottom. Alright, the signatures are now attached to the cover, so now I want to finish the cover. So I've got this portion, so I'm going to adhere it down by adding glue on 3 sides, making a giant U. I've got a couple of words that I typed out using my Silhouette software and then having it cut it out, and it says amazing memories. I thought, well, that would be perfect for a journal. I'm going to use some Distress ink around the edges of these, and then I'm going to just layer these on top of this journal piece, journal cover. Couldn't get it out. So I think what I want to do is I want to see if I want to mat this piece of fabric, or what I'm going to do is I'm going to adhere this down, and I'm going to do a zigzag stitch around it on both these pieces. I'm going to make a little mat out of fabric. So as you can see, I did a little stitching around that, and I'm going to adhere these in place just using tacky glue. Alright, so the cover is done. As you can see, I've got a little tag here that's from Calico Collage that I've zigzag stitched around, and I'm going to put in this front pocket. And then on the inside, I have a pocket here, so I've got a couple of scraps left over. These are some little journaling cards and some fabric and a piece of wallpaper that I'll put right there. We've got the Calico Collage image here where I have gone in, I don't know if you can see it, but I have added some of the Tulip dimensional glitter paint, and so it's got a nice shimmer here and there. I've added some fabric. On the back side, I used one of my stencils in Tattered Angels Glimmer Mist stamped. Then this is another one of my Franken pages, but this time I used wallpaper in with my mixed media pages that I made. And I have a tutorial on how to make the Franken page like mine. Then on the other side is an altered paper clip just by adding some fabric to it. And then here's a journaling card that basically is just a piece of cardstock and then one of my pieces, either wallpaper or the sprayed pieces that I use with my stencils. And here you can see I stenciled as well with Tattered Angels Glimmer Mist. This page is notebook paper. I love the way it crinkles. That I've sprayed with Tattered Angels and then over stamped with a butterfly stamp. This is a vertical belly band. It's one of the images that's in the Daydreaming. I always get that wrong. Daydreaming kit. And then I've just added it to a book page. I've added a little label. And then, of course, I have the dragonfly and a word. Another journaling card here. More journaling cards. This is wallpaper on a dictionary page. On this side is scrapbook paper. So basically what I did was I took 2 pieces of paper, sandwiched it together, and then zigzag stitched all the way around. More little journaling cards. Another one of the Calico Collage images. This is a pocket that I made, and I have a tutorial on how to make those. And we got a little card here, and then there is a little card down here as well. I love adding the little fabric and lace bits to the sides. This has got some more of the stencils that I've made. This is graph paper, more stamping and stencils. Stamping. Here is an altered paper clip that I made, and I also have a tutorial on it as well. So it has a little tuck spot with a little card, and then this is a piece of wallpaper. This is stationery that was given to me, and I just thought it was really pretty. So I thought, well, since it matches the color scheme, I would put some in this journal. This is several pieces of paper sewed together with a piece of fabric at the top, and then another little card that used wallpaper. More stamping. Show me how big your brave is another stamp. More stenciling on the back side of the Franken page. Calico collage image. And then we begin to pretty much repeat. Some of the pages are going to have a different stencil pattern, and the Franken pages will look a little different. But for the most part, the same thing applies to each of the pages that I've made in here. Flip through this really quick. Another one of the altered paper clips. This is a mini journal, and I have a tutorial on how I made that. And it has a pocket inside, and then has pockets inside the middle of the journal, so you can have lots of writing space. I just love the colors, and that just make you happy, all those bright cheery colors. I just love it. There's another journaling card here. Another one of the stationery. Oh. Another altered paper clip. Another one of the pockets. And then I have some more little journaling cards for the back inside cover as well. Well, I hope you enjoyed seeing my tutorial on how to make a cover for a junk journal. And this is just based off of using the One Fine Day pages, not one day, daydreaming pages. That's how I determine the height and width of my journal, is by stacking all those pages together. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Share it with your friends. I hope that you enjoyed it enough that it inspires you and shows you really, it just takes a little bit of time, but it's relatively easy to make your own junk journal covers as well as the pages. I don't have tutorials on all of the pages, but I do have lots of tutorials on how to decorate pages for a junk journal. So definitely check those out. Check the description box for links to my blog, social media, etc. And as always, please feel free to ask questions if you need some more clarification about something, or maybe you're looking for a tutorial on something that you think I would do. I would be glad to see if I can do that for you. All right, everybody, if you haven't already subscribed, please do so. Hit that notification bell as well. And please come back and see me again. Have a fabulous day, and thanks so much for watching. Bye.